Nice hearing from you, Carlos.
Poltergeist feels like something of legend in the horror community. The mere mention of its title gets wheels spinning and everyone has their own anecdote regarding the series. I'll leave that to you for later, but for now, let's visit the first installment of Poltergeist. The film starts with a soft TV buzz in the living room of the Freeling home. Dad is asleep in the front of the boob tube and the family dog, E-Buzz, is walking around the house eating chips off the floor. The youngest daughter sits up in her bed. The buzz of the television is still present. The girl walks downstairs and sits right in front of the TV, something we were all very guilty of as kids. However, I can't say that we all start to talk to it, answering questions to a screen of scrolling static. This is what Carol Ann does. She talks as the rest of the family curiously looks on half asleep. We then see her place her tiny hands on the screen, and there it is, that iconic shot. You know, if it wasn't for that opening, you'd think this was an entirely different movie after the credits roll. It feels like it could be a family-based comedy or adventure story. It starts off with a fair amount of humor. The kids with the remote control car causing the neighbor holding the beer on his bike to nearly crash. The remote control battle with the neighbor. Mom almost flushes a dead bird down the toilet until the daughter catches her. Still trying to figure out why you would flush it. The younger brother finds a cool tree to climb. There's a bird funeral and the little brother wants to dig it up after it's been decomposed. Okay, it's funny weird then. As day shifts to night, the tree doesn't look as cool during a thunderstorm. There's also an extremely creepy clown sitting in a chair in front of the son's bed, which only adds to the scaries. After telling the kids goodnight, Diane, played by JoBeth Williams, gets to bed and decides to smoke a little wacky weed while talking about how their daughter might have inherited her sleepwalking. I want to talk about this scene a little bit because of how well JoBeth and Craig T. Nelson played off each other. After talking about sleepwalking, Diane starts to get a little paranoid about the pool they're putting in the backyard. She's concerned that Carol Ann could possibly sleepwalk into the pool before there's any water. Steve, played by Nelson, is listening but also doing push-ups at the opposite end of the bed. You can tell he's also stoned as he starts going on about diving and showing his diving positions, then jumps off the bed to go stand in front of the mirror to suck his belly in and out. The whole time, Diane is giggling while rolling a joint, then continuing to smoke. At one point, their son Robbie is standing in the doorway as the couple are laughing in bed while Steve is trying to imitate a sexy Donald Duck. There's an instant chemistry between them in the scene as well as any other scene that they're in together. It's hard to believe they're not married in real life. Throughout the film, you have terror in this warm way that's distinctly Spielberg. The juxtaposition of sickening and heartwarming moments here makes it seem whimsical rather than morose. The score from Jerry Goldsmith also assists to cushion many of these scenes. It's a delicate thing and it's done so well. I think one of the most subtly terrifying scenes is the one with the table and chairs. After being startled by Carol Ann, Diane notices the chairs at the kitchen table have been pulled out. She asks Carol Ann if this is her doing, to which she says, Diane props her kiddo up on the counter and goes to push all the chairs back under the table. She comes back around to grab some cleaner out of the cabinet, with the table out of view. As soon as she gets up and turns back towards the table, she audibly gasps at the side of the chairs, which have now all been stacked on top of the table. This is one of many scenes that as a kid you have to automatically believe it just happened that way. The change happened so quickly there's no way an actual poltergeist didn't do that. What's cool about it is that it's this single unedited take. Just glue some chairs together, shake a plant, then get in and out. Oh, and since we are on shit that left you flabbergasted as a child, we have to talk about the guy peeling his whole damn face off in front of the mirror. One of the parapsychologists, Marty, of course it's a Marty, takes a break to go find some food. When he walks into the kitchen, the poltergeist decides it's time to mess with this guy. He sees pieces of meat writhing on the floor, covered in maggots, and after this freakout tries to splash some water on his face. As he does this, the lights start to build and then go in and out. Marty touches his face, and pieces of skin and blood start to fall into the sink. He continues to grab at his face, peeling layer after layer off, just going straight to the bone.
There's a wonderful light, as bright as the sun, but it doesn't hurt to look into it.
Death is already a topic that is difficult for adults, but when you have to put that into terms for a child, it's another territory altogether. Then take that a step further to talk about the idea of a soul and that soul being in limbo. Straight does an amazing job with this monologue and the care she puts into each line. And there's that warming effect. Before we get to the grand finale, we have to give our respects to Zelda Rubinstein as Tangina.
Where was the last incident of our location?
Her part was filmed in 6 days, and damn if she doesn't leave one of the largest impressions on screen for as little time as she is in the film. What you may or may not know is that Rubinstein was a psychic and medium. She said that she had visions of events before they had even occurred, which no doubt brought a realness to what she was doing. And that last shot of her standing proud with a smirk on her face saying,
"This house is clean,"
is one of the most perfect shots ever caught on film. So we jump to after Carol Ann is rescued. There's a sense that everything's going to be okay until it isn't. Diane has decided to dye over the gray in her hair. and is going to take a nice relaxing bath, leaving Robbie and Carol-Ann in their room. This seems totally fine. They've already acted and decided to get the hell up out of that house and move on to literally anything else. Maybe a house in Arizona with the addition of another family member? When the kids are left alone in that room, you know they should have put them in the living room or maybe any other room in the house. But they don't, and as soon as the parental figure is out of the picture, the spirits have a free-for-all. Everything going forward is nothing short of spectacular. Diane goes to have a rest on her bed when the poltergeist starts to pull at her body, raising her up and across the ceiling. This is one of those scenes that people were mesmerized at. How did they get her up there? This is a trick that most of us are now familiar with, but in 1982 it was magic. All the practical effects used in the movie are really nothing short of magical. The 80s was a different time, especially for horror. Then there's the bodies. This is one of those moments that lives in your mind forever after you've seen it. Poor JoBeth. She never knew it was coming, and neither did the rest of us. While running outside in the pouring rain to get help from the neighbors, Diane slips into the pool, which at this point is filled with rainwater and mud and corpses. JoBeth had no idea at the time that this was going to happen, so her reaction is happening in real time. Oh, not to mention that the skeletal remains are not leftover Halloween decorations from the Walmart clearance section. They are, in fact, the real deal. It was actually much cheaper to obtain human skeletons rather than sculpt them, and with the budgets of horror films, you cut corners where you can. Watching her try to climb out of the slippery pool only to slide back down and be confronted by rising coffins and even more skeletal remains plants a core memory that you never wanted. Next, we move to the never-ending hallway, the mouth of the beast, and back to the clown doll. I think at the time, the closet opening to this pulsating, living orifice was not a place I wanted to go. As I've gotten older, the hallway and the idea that you're running tirelessly to no end and you may not reach your kids who are in desperate need of your help is much worse. The performance from JoBeth Williams in this moment, and truly the entire movie, is moving and heart-wrenching. As I said before about Nelson and herself as parents, they're relatable in every aspect. But if we really wanted to weigh which of these parts is still the worst, and by worst I mean the one that would probably still make you pee your pants, is when the clown doll pulls Robbie under the bed. Within the same time frame, I had seen this, Killer Clowns from Outer Space, and a little bit later It. Clowns were not friendly circus folk to me. They were psychotic killers tasked to end my life force while maniacally laughing about it. Ugh. Why did anyone buy that damn thing anyway? Why did they sit it in front of his bed like that? Were they high? As they rush to leave the house, the bodies do not stop coming. Coffins are erupting out of the ground with these animated corpses reaching for the Freeling family. One of the best parts is when Steven grabs and confronts Teague, who is seeing the bodies coming out of their front yard.
You son of a bitch, you left the bodies and you only moved the headstones! You only moved the headstones!
I think in these moments you see the influence of Tobe Hooper, who could have made this a lot more darker and gruesome, but in the end, the balance we got is the one we deserve. Now it's time to get the hell out as we are yelling at Steven to find his damn keys and get Carol-Ann and the rest of the family out of there. The tension with this and trying to get a hysterical Dana in the car while Robbie is saying, "Daddy, drive away!" almost becomes too much. After everyone is in the wagon watching the idyllic American dream turn into a nightmare, Steven yells at them not to look back. But the rest of us have no choice. We watch as the house implodes into the in-between. The effect apparently was the one that got the most attention from Spielberg during the production. A miniature was built and each aspect of the house was mirrored to a T. The effect itself was done with a powerful vacuum machine placed over the 6-foot miniature with the camera locked in place on top. When the signal was given, the wires, which were attached all over the house, were pulled, which caused the house to collapse with everything sucked up inside. The description in the script, "and the house implodes," is lovingly described as the $250,000 sentence. So you see why they didn't worry too much about the skeletons of grandma and whatnot. It's hard to view the movie now without thinking of everything surrounding it. The directing controversy, the deaths, shoplifting the premise from a Twilight Zone episode, the desecration of bodies for entertainment, the list is long. It's enough to wheel your TV out the door and let it think about what it's done. There's this idea that a curse elevates the movie and adds to our fascination and drives our fear. There's comfort in these ideas, just as there's comfort in the fact that most of us enjoy horror films because they are comforting. It's easier for us to cope. In addition, there's this larger concept of the suburban American dream, which is being built over the remains of the past. The film, its sentiment, and its message still strike a chord with me as an adult. Poltergeist will forever be this living, breathing thing shrouded in mystery and myth. Luckily, there's a movie full of heart behind it.